All right, Amanda, I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, I was going to say I don't see them yet, but I'll keep an eye out for them to see if they do happen to join here as we go along. Just a couple of quick reminders this morning. This meeting is being recorded, and please mute your line if you're not speaking, just so that we can eliminate any background noise. I will defer to Dr. Kuhn as we go through the agenda, but will help to drive the agenda with her so that we can keep the meeting moving. And we do have public comment towards the end for those that have signed up. And when we get to that, we'll make sure that we call on each of you. I think that's all I have in my announcements. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Kuhn for her opening comments and call to order. Dr. Kuhn? Oh, you're on mute, Dr. Kuhn.
Thank you. So I did have just a few items I wanted to mention. First, John Ross, our OMPP pharmacy director, will be out for several weeks. So please feel free to contact Carla, Namrita, and or myself in his absence. Also, Namrita, feel free to jump in, but we do unfortunately have some board and committee members leaving. It's my understanding that we will be in need of a psychiatrist on the T committee. So if you or anyone you know is interested, please reach out to Namrita Yancey, our pharmacy operations manager. And then last item, I wanted to make a quick mention that today's recommendation proposals will look quite different than they have historically. As a reminder, House Enrolled Act 1001 from this year's legislative session removed the prohibition formerly in place that prevented preference on mental health drugs. So previously, all mental health medications had a preferred status, and while certain safety and utilization edits were permissible, preference and things like step therapy were not. So bids were solicited for supplemental rebates on the mental health medication classes, and today's proposals will reflect this. As a reminder, Dr. Ott has graciously agreed to represent the MHQAC on the Therapeutics Committee and will participate in the closed second session in which financial information, including that related to federal and supplemental rebates, is discussed. I did want to note that beginning in December and going forward, Therapeutics Committee will meet ahead of MHQAC. So Dr. Ott, as the dual representative, will have had the opportunity to review the financial piece prior to MHQAC. So with that all said, I would like to call to order the October 2025 Mental Health Quality Advisory Committee meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Kuhn. You helped me out immensely because I was going to equally have to have a conversation, but don't worry, I will try and walk everyone through as much as I can, all the new slides that you'll be seeing and what we're looking at. That takes us to the next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved, Wendy Powell. Second, Elizabeth Andreessen.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments, discussion before I take the vote, roll call vote? All right, hearing none, again, you can aye, nay, or abstain. I will go through the roll call list. Dr. Andreessen.
Aye.
Dr. Holdershorn.
Aye.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes, so that motion will carry. Thank you. That will then take us into our slide presentation. So first up, we have utilization edit recommendations. And so there is an escitalopram 15 milligram capsule that we are recommending a 1 capsule per day limit on. And then there's a new product, MHQAC, which comes in an 18.2, 36.3, 54.5, and 72.6 milligram tablet. And those products are all at 1 a day, age 18 years or older. We will talk about these when we get into the antidepressant agent section as well. So you'll see that there. And then there's an MHQAC titration pack for starting. That's going to be 1 pack per 90 days with an age of 18 years of age or older. Any questions, comments, concerns on the utilization edits? If not, if I could get
Sorry,
Oh, go
it's
ahead,
Wendy Powell. I would assume the escitalopram will be added to the antidepressant concurrent use editing, but I think based on the mechanism of the gepirone, it will not. Can you confirm one way or the other?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, if I could get a motion and a second for those, please.
So moved, Wendy Powell. Second, Elizabeth Andreessen.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Approve.
Dr. Holvershorn.
Approve.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
We have all ayes, so that motion will carry. Thank you. And then we will go on to our next item. So one thing I wanted to point out here before we get started, and what you have likely noticed in what's come across to you, is that there are several products that historically were on the mental health utilization edits list, or the big list, what used to be lovingly called the AAAX list. They will not be included in our recommendation review, and that is because they've either been moved to neutral status, which means we aren't going to maintain them on the PDL at all. We're just going to allow them to be neutral. So for example, I think diphenhydramine was on there and we're not reviewing that. And some of the other cross-indicated products are actually have been moved to their, or already were in their cross-indicated class. So for example, there were a lot of anti-seizure agents that were cross-indicated. Those are already on a class on the PDL, so we're just not reviewing them as a part of this review. They're going to stay in that class. So just wanted to point that out if you're thinking, oh, it seems like we're missing a lot of drugs. It's because we're just putting them in their appropriate class or maintaining them as neutral versus having them. And neutral for this group, since I know we don't always discuss that, is basically just means that they're covered and they're open. There's not PA unless we put PA on them, and we would bring that PA to you all. So they're just available. We just don't review them on the PDL. All right, any questions on that before we get into recommendations? All right, hearing none, let's start. So we handle these in the same way that we've been handling them through therapeutics committees. So just kind of as an FYI, we will go through by classes that we are planning on placing them on the PDL. So these groups are what we are going to have as a class on the PDL. So in this first group, we're reviewing the Alzheimer's and dementia agents. What we're going to show you, or what you're seeing at the top of the screen, is basically the equivalent of the current PDL, because we historically haven't listed these drugs on the PDL, but they were all preferred. So what you're seeing is, this is the class of drugs here at the top, or the drugs that are within this class that we're including. They're technically all preferred right now, so it's the current status of the PDL. This is what we'll always bring to you first, so you can see where things lie currently. And then you'll see our recommendations below of where we're planning on placing things with your group's approval and review. As Ann mentioned, the therapeutics committee will review financials on these as well. So if there's a recommendation that is not related to financials, why we're placing something, we do include that in the recommendations information. So you would see, for example, if there was a clinical reason why we were placing something in a certain status. Otherwise, if there's no real rationale as far as why we're putting something non-preferred, you can usually assume it's related to financial reasons for the state, let's put it that way. All right, any questions before we actually start going through the recommendations, since I know this is a little new for some of you all? Awesome, okay. So we have some brand named agents, Aricept, Exelon, patches, Namenda ER, and the capsule and titration pack. Moving these to non-preferred, maintaining their age and quantity limits if they have them, and then maintaining BMN criteria. So basically, they're going to process in a similar way they have historically. The generic agents are going to be preferred, and we're going to require brand medically necessary criteria for access to the brand agent. This is what's already been happening today. Adlarity is a donepezil is going to be moved to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits, and then adding a step therapy that the prescriber must provide medical justification for topical formulation or have history of adlarity for 90 of the past 120 days as supported by claims history or chart documentation. So something to point out, because you're going to see this several times as we go through these recommendations, is that if we're allowing for continuation of therapy, you're going to see in the step therapy that history of the product for 90 of the past 120 days. That's just allowance for those individuals who have already accessed this product. They'll be able to continue to access. So you'll see that throughout a lot of the products that we are allowing continued use. All right, galantamine oral solution, maintaining its preferred status and quantity limit, but adding a step therapy around must be unable to swallow the tablet formulation. This is consistent with a lot of the agents on our PDL. You'll notice when we start looking at liquid formulations that we look to see that they can't swallow the tablet formulation. So that's just consistent with other settings that we have on other agents. On memantine donepezil, moving to non-preferred and maintaining its current quantity limits, maintaining its generic medically necessary criteria. So the brand is more preferred than the generic here. And it follows similar criteria just for the generic agent if we were looking for brand medically necessary. And then step therapy that the prescriber must provide documentation supporting separate components are not suitable for use. So then here's the brand, the Namzaric, maintaining its preferred status and quantity limits and preference on the preferred brand drug list, but also adding step therapy that the prescriber must provide documentation supporting separate components are not suitable for use or history of Namzaric capsules for 90 of the past 120 days. So again, this is another strategy often used on the PDL where if it's a combination product, we may ask individuals to use the separate components first or provide rationale as to why they can't, which could be that maybe one of the tablets or capsules of the other formulations are too large to swallow, or that they have issues with compliance. There's several things that we look at to allow them to get to the combination product. Zunveil moved to non-preferred and maintain its quantity limits, and then it's going to have a step therapy for trial and failure of galantamine, any formulation, and prescriber has submitted medical justification for use or history of Zunveil for 90 of the past 120 days. And that concludes the Alzheimer's and dementia agents. Any questions on that class? Okay, hearing none. So usually how we do this in the therapeutics committee, and I assume Dr. Kuhn, you want me to follow the same process. After each overarching drug class review, we'll take a vote and then we'll go on to the next drug class. So if I could get a motion and a second for the Alzheimer's and dementia agents changes, please.
So moved, Wendy Powell.
Second, Elizabeth Anderson.
All right, we have a motion and a second. So I'll take the roll call vote. Dr. Andreessen.
Approved.
Dr. Holvershorn.
Approved.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes. That motion will carry. Thank you. Our next group is the anti-anxiety and related disorders agents. And so again, here you can see all the agents are preferred within this class. We do have them kind of broken out into subclasses, if you will, of benzodiazepines and non-benzodiazepines, just so when we're comparing them for preference review and other review, we're comparing kind of similar agents together. So the brand name agents, Ativan injection, Klonopin tablets, Valium tablets, and Xanax IR XR, moving to non-preferred, maintaining their current quantity limits and maintaining their PA criteria and brand medically necessary criteria, again, similar to the Alzheimer's agents. Bucapsol is a brand capsule formulation of buspirone, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its quantity limits, and then having a step therapy that the member must have previous trial and failure of the buspirone tablet, and the prescriber must provide rationale for Bucapsol over the buspirone tablet. So again, just a formulation difference here. Igalmi, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its PA criteria and age and quantity limits. and Lorive XR moving to non-preferred and maintaining its PA criteria and age and quantity limits. So even though these agents are both going to be non-preferred, they have the exact same PA criteria that's currently in place today. So not really anything changing. It's just kind of where they're listed on the PDL. And then Meprobamate moved to non-preferred, maintaining its quantity limit, and then step therapy that they have previous trial and failure of buspirone IR tablet and hydroxyzine. And the prescriber must provide rationale for Meprobamate over use of buspirone IR and hydroxyzine, or that they have a history of the product for 90 of the past 120 days. So again, continuation of therapy. And that concludes our anti-anxiety and related disorders agents. Any questions, comments, concerns on that group? If not, if I could get a motion in a second, please.
So moved. Elizabeth Anderson.
I'll second. Wendy Powell.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Dr. Andrewson.
Aye.
Dr. Holvershorn.
Approved.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes, so that motion will carry. Oh, hold on, sorry, I'm just looking to see who I need to. Just a reminder, if you're on the phone, if you could please mute your phone so that we don't hear your background noise, we would appreciate that. Okay. All right, going on then to the antidepressant agents. So a lot of agents in these classes, again, or in this class, and then again, we've broken them out kind of by their type, if you will. So SSRI, SNRI, TCAs, MAOIs, and then our miscellaneous agents, just so that we're again comparing them in their appropriate groups. So for our recommendations for the brand name agents, Celexa tablets, Cymbalta capsules, Effexor XR capsules, Forfivo XL, Lexapro tablets, Paxil IR and CR, and the oral suspension, Pristique ER, Prozac capsules, Vibrid, and Zoloft concentrate and tablet. Moving those all to non-preferred, maintaining their age and quantity limits as they have them, maintaining their PA criteria, which is around the duplicate therapy of SSRI, SNRI, and then maintaining brand medically necessary criteria, again, similar to the other brand agents that we've reviewed in the other classes. And then these are kind of other agents that are not SSRI, SNRI, so brand agents Anafranil, Nardil, Nopramine, Pamlor, Parnate, Remeron, the ODTN tablet, and Wellbutrin SR tablets, moving them to non-preferred, maintaining their quantity limits and their BMN criteria as well. And then in the MAOI subclass, MSAM, Marplan, Phenelzine, and tranylcypromine, thank you. Moving to non-preferred, maintaining their quantity limits, and then step therapy that they've had previous trial and failure of one SSRI and one SNRI agent for at least 4 weeks each, and the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use or history of the requested agent for 90 of the past 120 days, again, to allow continuation of therapy.
Amanda, can you go back to the prior slide? That was kind of fast.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So these are just brand, so these first 3 slides here, first 2 slides, Celexa slide and then Anafranil, these are just all the branded agents are going to non-preferred, whereas their generic counterparts in most cases will be maintained as preferred.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, no worries. And then in the MAOI group, this group is moving to non-preferred and then requiring trial and failure of the SSRI and one SNRI for at least 4 weeks or continuation of therapy. That's really just around recommendations of, which drugs to use first line.
Hang on, can you go back again? Sorry.
Yep. Which to this group?
No, back one more.
Yep.
So I see, I'm sorry, I'm echoing. Wellbutrin XL, is that, I see the SR, but not the XL brand.
I don't believe there are any rebating manufacturers right now, so I don't think it's covered by the benefit currently.
Okay, but the generic XL is, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If it does become rebating, we would bring it to you all and add it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions before we continue?
Yes, Wendy Powell, on the
Yes.
MAOIs, is it correct?
Yes.
They're all moving to non-preferred, and I would suspect that's maybe just for safety reasons, given.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And what's currently recommended in guideline for
Guideline,
treatment.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So the generic Forfivo XL, the bupropion ER 450 milligram tablet, you might remember that I said that the brand is going to non-preferred. The generic also is going to non-preferred, maintaining its quantity limit, and that the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use of bupropion ER 450 milligram tablet over the preferred bupropion agents. And again, in this case, they could get to the 450 strength using multiple strengths of the other bupropion products. Citalopram capsules, moving to non-preferred, maintaining their quantity limit and PA criteria. That's around the duplicate therapy again for SSRI, SNRI, and then step therapy that they've had previous trial and failure of the citalopram tablet. And the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use of the citalopram capsule over the tablet, or they have history of use of the citalopram capsule for 90 of the past 120 days. For the citalopram, escitalopram, and fluoxetine oral solutions, maintaining their preferred status and quantity limits, as well as their PA criteria around the duplicate SSRI, SNRI, but then adding step therapy that they must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the capsule tablet formulation. So if they're under 12 years of age, it will automatically process without looking for, that history of being unable to swallow, which is consistent with some of our other PDL agents.
Amanda, it's Wendy again. I can't recall for those, do we have age edits currently on those chemical entities? Like a lower age limit? I don't recall how.
No, we don't. Just
Okay.
Not for these particular ones. I think Paxil
Paroxetine.
is one of the only ones. Yeah,
Okay.
Paxil has the 18, yeah.
Thanks.
Uh-huh. All right. Drizalma sprinkles, and if you have ever watched Cinderella, this really makes me think of one of the wicked stepsisters, Drusilla. So if you want that in your head for later on, you're welcome. Recommending moving to non-preferred with quantity limits and the PA criteria, and then again, must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the capsule formulation. Escitalopram capsules, moving to non-preferred, adding a quantity limit of 1 capsule per day, adding to the duplicate SSRI, SNRI PA criteria. You might remember you just saw this earlier in the utilization edit, so it's just carrying over that information. And then adding a step therapy where they must have a previous trial and failure of the escitalopram tablet, and the prescriber has submitted medical justification for the use of escitalopram capsule over the escitalopram tablet, or a history of the capsule formulation for 90 of the past 120. And then Exua, you, I'm sure remember that we just talked about that too in the utilization edits, but moving this to non-preferred, again, it had the quantity limit of 1 tablet per day and the 1 titration pack per 90 days with the age limit of 18 years of age or older. And then adding the step therapy for must have trial and failure of 2 preferred antidepressant agents for at least 4 weeks each, or a history of the requested agent for 90 of the past 120 days.
It's Wendy again. I have another question. On the 2 preferred antidepressant agents, would it be 2 from any of the classes? Would it be 1 from 2 different classes?
It's just 2 preferred agents in general. So it could be from the same group. It could be from 2 different groups. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
For the fluvoxamine ER capsules, moving to non-preferred, maintaining their PA criteria and quantity limits, and then step therapy for must-have trial and failure of the fluvoxamine IR tablet formulation, and that the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use of the ER capsule over the IR formulation, or again, history of use of the ER capsule for 90 of the past 120. The nortriptyline oral solution, maintaining its preferred status and quantity limit, but again, adding the step therapy that they must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the capsule formulation. And then for the paroxetine oral suspension, maintaining its preferred status, age, and quantity limits, as well as PA criteria around duplicate therapy, but adding a step therapy that they must be unable to swallow the tablet formulation. You may be asking yourself, why does it have the 12 years and under? And that's because paroxetine has an age limit of 18 years and older. And then Raldesi oral solution is a trazodone oral solution, moving to non-preferred and maintaining its quantity limit. And then this will have the must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the tablet formulation. The sertraline capsule, moving to non-preferred, maintaining quantity limits and PA criteria, and then step therapy for trial and failure of the sertraline tablet, and justification for use of the capsule over the tablet, or history of use of the capsule. And the oral concentrate, maintaining preferred status, quantity limit, and PA. And then again, the must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the tablet formulation. And then Spravato, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its PA criteria, age, and quantity limits. So Spravato won't be handled any differently than it is today. It's going to follow the exact same PA criteria. The trimipramine capsules, moving to non-preferred and maintaining their quantity limit, and then step therapy for must-have trial and failure of all preferred tricyclic antidepressants or medical justification for use. And we made it through the antidepressant agents. I know that seemed like a lot. I promise once we get all these up and running, they will not hopefully be quite as labor intensive in the future. Any other questions or comments on the antidepressant agents? All right, if not, if I could get a motion in a second, please.
So moved, Wendy Powell.
Second, Elizabeth Anderson.
All right, I have a motion in a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Aye.
Dr. Holvershorn.
Sorry, approved.
Thank you. Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes, so that motion carries. Thank you. We will now move on to another fun and large class, the antipsychotics and anti-manic agents. So you can see here, awful lot going on. We did break these out into the antipsychotic first generation, second generation, and then miscellaneous, and then anti-manic agents. So a lot going on here in this group as well. For the brand name agents like we've done in the previous group, so Abilify, Clozaril, Geodon, the capsule and the IM solution, the Haldol, Decanoate, the Invega tablets, Latuda tablets, Risperdal oral solution and tablet, Safris sublingual tablet, Seroquel IR and XR tablet, Symbiox capsules, Zyprexa IM solution and tablet, and Zyprexa Zydis ODT. All the brand names in that group just mentioned moving to non-preferred, maintaining their age and quantity limits as they have them, maintaining their PA criteria. And again, when we say PA criteria here, that would be referring to the antipsychotic criteria that we have around duplicate therapy, and then and metabolic monitoring, et cetera, and then maintaining their brand medically necessary. All right. Then for the brand name agents for Lithobid ER tablet, that would move to non-preferred, maintaining its brand medically necessary criteria. For aripiprazole ODT, maintaining its preferred status, PA criteria and age limits, but then adding the step therapy around must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the tablet formulation or history of use of the ODT formulation. For the Abilify MySite, I don't know that anybody could have seen this coming, but they removed their coverage and their CMS termed. Then for the aripiprazole solution, maintaining its preferred status, PA criteria, age and quantity limits, and then similar to what we just reviewed with the ODT, 12 years of age or under, or over 12 years of age and unable to swallow the tablet formulation or history of use. For the clozapine ODT, maintaining its preferred status, PA criteria, age and quantity limits, and then trial and failure of the clozapine tablet, and the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use of the ODT or history of the ODT formulation. For Cobenfy, moving to non-preferred, updating the drug-specific PA criteria, and then maintaining age and quantity limits. And then the Fanapt tablet titration packs moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits, and then adding a step therapy for must have trial and failure of one preferred antipsychotic agent or medical justification for the use of Fanapt over all preferred agents or history of the requested agent for 90 of the past 120.
Amanda, I'm going to ask a question on this one as well, please.
Yeah.
So one preferred antipsychotic agent, again, can it be from everything listed on the preferred side of the PDL?
Everything that falls in the antipsychotic subclass.
So in other words, not the anti-manics, right?
Exactly.
Thank you.
I'm seeing folks raising their hand on the Teams message, and I just want to let you all know that we only allow public comment for those that register for public comment. So I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. We don't call on any members from the public unless they've registered. All right, moving on then. For the lithium solution, maintaining its preferred status and must have step therapy for must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the capsule tablet formulation. For Nuplazid, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its quantity limit and then updating its drug-specific PA criteria. So again, similar, looking for diagnoses and a couple other items. Opipsa, which is an aripiprazole film, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its PA criteria, age and quantity limits, and then having step therapy for must have trial and failure of the aripiprazole tablet, and submitted justification for use, or that they have a history of Opipsa for 90 of the past 120 days. And then Perseris, the risperidone IM injection is no longer manufactured, so we're removing that from the PDL and coverage. Pimozide moving to non-preferred, maintaining its PA criteria, age and quantity, and then adding step therapy that the member has trialed and failed 2 of the following for 4 weeks each: aripiprazole, haloperidol, risperidone, and so they have to trial 2 of those 3 basically for 4 weeks each, and then or history of Pimozide for 90 of the past 120. Risperidone microspheres injection solution, move to non-preferred, maintain its PA criteria, maintain age and quantity limits, and then maintain its generic medically necessary criteria. So in this case, the brand is preferred over the generic. The risperidone ODT, maintain its preferred status, PA criteria, age and quantity limits, and then adding the step therapy around the 12 years of age, under 12 years of age or unable to swallow the tablet formulation or history of use. Same thing for the risperidone solution, maintaining its preferred status, PA criteria, age and quantity limits, and then again, the under 12 years of age or unable to swallow the tablet formulation. Rakindo, another risperidone IM injection, is no longer participating in the MDRP, so we need to remove that from coverage. Secuado patch, the Centipede patches, moving to non-preferred, maintaining their PA criteria, age, and quantity limits. And then step therapy around must-have trial and failure of the Centipede sublingual formulation, and that the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use over the sublingual, or that they have history of the patch for 90 of 120. Versaclause, the clozapine oral suspension, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its PA criteria and age and quantity limits, and then they must be unable to swallow the tablet formulation. And we made it through the antipsychotics.
Sorry to do this to you, Amanda. I'm the most talkative one today, but I think it was back on slide 40, Nuplazid. You mentioned update to PA criteria.
That is correct. I have it in my stuff.
Will we see that document
Yeah,
or that criteria later?
So it was submitted in your packet,
Okay.
but I do have the criteria in front of me. So the initial authorization is that they must meet all of the following, which is a diagnosis of psychosis related to Parkinson's disease. Mm-hmm. And that there's chart documentation supporting that, and confirmed Parkinson's disease diagnosis must be submitted. And then the prescriber attests that the member does not have dementia related to psychosis due to Alzheimer's disease or Lewy body dementia that's unrelated to their Parkinson's, and that attempts have been made to adjust the member's Parkinson's disease medications to reduce psychotic symptoms without worsening motor symptoms prior to initiating Nuplazid. And then there's a dose limit in there of 34 milligrams a day. And then the reauthorization criteria is just history of use, and that they've submitted documentation that there's a positive response to therapy. And again, the same dose therapy, the dosing requirement.
Thanks so much. Apologies for overlooking that in the packet.
No worries.
Okay.
It was a lot in the packet.
Yeah. That's all I had in this class. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion in a second, please.
So moved. It's Wendy.
Seconded, Elizabeth Andreessen.
All right, I have a motion in a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Approve.
Dr. Halvershorn.
Approve.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes, so that motion will carry. Thank you. Moving on then into the insomnia agents, a little bit smaller class this time when compared to some of the past two we've done. We did break these out into the benzodiazepines, the hypnotic sedatives, and then miscellaneous. So brand name agents, Ambien, CRIR, Doral tablets, Halcyon tablets, and Restoril capsules, moving to non-preferred, maintaining quantity limit. PA criteria here again is around, there's duplicate therapy as well as some other things for some of the benzos, and then maintaining the brand medically necessary criteria. And then the brand name agents, Rosarum and Celanor tablets, moving to non-preferred, maintaining quantity limits and BMN criteria. For Dayvigo, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits and maintaining its PA criteria, but adding a step therapy that they must have trial and failure of Belsomra, or that prescriber has submitted medical justification for the use of Dayvigo over Belsomra. For Edluar, the 5 milligram and 10 milligram sublingual tablets, moving to non-preferred, maintaining their quantity limits and PA criteria, and then step therapy that they have to have trial and failure of the Zolpidem tablet, and the prescriber has submitted justification for the use of the sublingual formulation over the tablet. For the flurazepam, moving to non-preferred, maintaining quantity limits and PA criteria, and then step therapy that they must have trial and failure of all preferred benzodiazepine agents for insomnia or medical justification for use. For the Hetliaz and Hetliaz LQ, moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits, maintaining it on the preferred brand drug list, and then updating its drug-specific PA criteria. And then Quazepam moving to non-preferred, maintaining its quantity limits and PA criteria. And then again, similar step therapy where they must have trial and failure of all the preferred benzodiazepine agents for insomnia or medical justification for use. QVivic moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits and PA criteria, and then adding step therapy similar to the one we discussed earlier where they must have trial and failure of Belsomra or the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use of QVivic. And Tasmelteon capsules moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits and maintaining its generic medically necessary criteria. So the brand is preferred and then updating its drug-specific PA criteria. And then Triazolam moving to non-preferred, maintaining its quantity limits and PA criteria. And then the Zolpidem 7.5 milligram capsules moving to non-preferred, maintaining quantity limits and PA criteria. And then the step therapy for this is must have trial and failure of the Zolpidem IR 5 milligrams. And then the Zolpidem 1.75 milligram and 3 milligram sublingual tablets moving to non-preferred, maintaining quantity limits and PA criteria. And then the prescriber has submitted medical justification for use of the Zolpidem sublingual tablets and that the member is not using concurrently with any other Zolpidem strengths and formulations. That concludes our insomnia agents. Any questions or concerns on those? If not, if I could get a motion in a second, please.
So moved, Elizabeth Andreessen.
Wendy Powell, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Aye.
Dr. Holbershorn.
Aye.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes. That motion will carry. We are now into the narcolepsy and cataplexy agents. Small group here, no subclasses, as you can see. So the brand named agents Nuvigil tablets and Provigil tablets will move to non-preferred, maintaining their age and quantity limits, maintaining PA criteria and BMN criteria. The sodium oxybate will move to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits and PA criteria, as well as adding generic medically necessary criteria. For the Sunosi, moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits, and then updating the drug-specific PA criteria. This is around continuation of therapy will be managed within the reauth, so there is continuation of therapy there. Wakix moving to non-preferred and maintaining its age and quantity limits, and again, updating the drug-specific PA criteria, where the continuation of therapy will be managed within the reauth criteria. For Xyrem, maintaining preferred status, age and quantity limits, and PA criteria, and then adding to the preferred brand drug list. And then Xywav, moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits, and updating the drug-specific PA criteria. Again, allowing continuation of therapy in the reauth. And that concludes the narcolepsy and cataplexy group.
Sorry,
Any
Amanda,
questions?
it's Wendy again.
Sure.
Just trying to wrap my head around how we implement some of this. And so with sodium oxybate moving to non-preferred, it's going to maintain its PA criteria with obviously the requirement for the preferred brand, but would it then require step through all of the preferred agents, or we would only rely upon the drug-specific PA criteria?
Only the drug-specific PA criteria.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, if I could get a motion in a second, please.
So moved, Elizabeth Andreessen.
Wendy Powell, second.
All right, I have a motion in a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Aye.
Dr. Holbershorn.
Approved.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes. That motion will carry. Thank you. We will now head into our non-stimulant ADHD agents, which that should give you some foreshadowing that we have a stimulant class and it's rather large coming your way here in a few, but the non-stimulant agent group is rather small. So for the brand named agents, the Catapress TTS patch, the Intunov ER tabs, and the Strattera capsules, moving to non-preferred, maintaining their age and quantity limits as they have them, maintaining their PA criteria as it's there, and then maintaining the brand medically necessary criteria. And then Qelbree, maintaining its preferred status, age and quantity limits, and PA criteria, but adding step therapy for previous trial and failure of a preferred ADHD agent, either stimulant or non-stimulant, or history of Qelbree for 90 of the past 120 days. And that concludes our non-stimulant group.
Hang on there for a second.
Yep.
Okay. No questions, thanks.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, if I could get a motion in a second.
So moved, Wendy Powell.
Second, Elizabeth Andreessen.
All right, I have a motion in a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Aye.
Dr. Holbershorn.
Aye.
Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, I have all ayes. That motion will carry. Thank you. All right, here we go, guys. The stimulants. So here's our stimulant group. A lot of brand name products here, so bear with me. So we've got Adderall IR, Adderall ER and XR, Abtensio XR, Concerta ER, Digoxin tablets, Dexedrine ER, Aviccio tablets, Focalin IR, Focalin XR, Metadate CD, methylene solution, Procentra solution, Ritalin tablets, Ritalin LA capsules, and the Zenzetti. Moving all of them to non-preferred, maintaining their age and quantity limits as they have them, maintaining their PA criteria, and then maintaining the brand medically necessary criteria. All right, there will be a kind of overarching edit on the stimulants, which basically if they're in the non-preferred class, unless it otherwise is specified, they must have a trial and failure of 2 preferred stimulants that are different chemical entities, or medical justification for use of the non-preferred agent over all the preferred agents, or history of the requested agent for 90 of the past 120 days. So again, the group that we move over into the non-preferred will have continuation of therapy. And so for the amphetamine XR ODT, this is the generic Adzenys, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits, PA criteria, and generic medically necessary criteria. For the generic Mideas, the amphetamine dextroamphetamine, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age and quantity limits and PA criteria, and then step therapy that they must have trial and failure of the amphetamine dextroamphetamine ER capsules, which is the generic Adderall XR, or medical justification for use or history of the agent. So again, this one would follow a different step therapy than the one we just talked about earlier. For the Adzenys XR ODT, moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits and PA criteria, and then they have a different step therapy as well for must have trial and failure of the Dianabel XR chew or suspension, or medical justification for use of the Adzenys XR, or history of use for the 90 of the past 120. For Cotempla, moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits and PA criteria, and then adding non-preferred step therapy requirement, which we discussed earlier, or history of use. For the dextroamphetamine solution, maintaining preferred status, age and quantity limits and PA criteria, but then adding the must be under 12 years of age, or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the capsule tablet formulation. For Jornay PM, maintaining its preferred status, age and quantity limits and PA criteria. Within step therapy, must have trial and failure of at least 1 preferred long-acting methylphenidate product, or medical justification for use, or history of the requested agent. And then lisdexamphetamine capsule, maintaining as non-preferred, maintain age and quantity limits, PA criteria, and generic medically necessary criteria. The lisdexamfetamine chewable tablets moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits, PA criteria and generic medically necessary criteria, and then adding the step therapy for the under 12 years of age or over 12 years of age and unable to swallow the capsule formulation. The methylphenidate ER capsules, this is a generic Abtensio XR moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity and PA criteria. And then for their step therapy, it's must have trial and failure of at least one preferred long-acting methylphenidate product or medical justification for use or history of the requested agent. The methylphenidate patch, this is the generic Daytrana, moving to non-preferred, maintaining age and quantity limits and PA, and then it's along with its generic medically necessary criteria. Relexi is a methylphenidate product moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age, quantity, and PA criteria, and then adding the kind of generic non-preferred step therapy requirement. And then for the Vyvanse chewable tablet, maintaining preferred status, age, and quantity, and PA, maintaining it on the preferred brand drug list, and then adding the step therapy around must be under 12 years of age or 12 years of age and older and unable to swallow the capsule formulation. For Zellstrom patch, moving to non-preferred, maintaining its age, quantity, and PA, and then adding step therapy that they must provide justification for topical formulation. We made it. The stimulants, we saved the stimulants for last, and you all made it. Any questions? If not, if I could get a motion in a second, please.
Amanda, can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
So a lot of this generic medically necessary, I can foresee that people are going to have trouble at pharmacies with the way that prescriptions are transmitted by prescribers to the pharmacies and not switching to the brand where it's necessary. Is there a plan to get that information out to pharmacies so they know which ones to use as brand and generic?
It's already been that way. So we haven't changed any of those. So those have consistently been that way now for quite some time.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Amanda, if I may, this is Monica. Carol, just so you know, I think most of the plans, if not all of us, have messaging at the point of sale for a drug like that. So if a generic came through, they processed it, the messaging at the point of sale would say brand preferred, so the pharmacy would know to switch it in that case.
Okay. I just recently gotten some, in Gender Health, gotten some like phone calls about that. So I just wanted to make sure.
And agree with Monica, fee for service has similar messaging too around preference of the brand or preference of the generic, whichever one is more preferred.
Okay. Is more preferred.
Thanks. Sometimes that's the case. If they're both
That's
not
a new one. All right. Thanks.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. If I could get a motion in a second, please.
So moved, Wendy Powell.
Second, Elizabeth Andreessen.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Dr. Andreessen.
Aye.
Dr. Holvershorn.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Ott.
Aye.
Dr. Powell.
Aye.
And Dr. Kuhn.
Aye.
All right, we have all ayes, so that motion will carry. Thank you so much for getting through this. I know it was a lot. The T committee will have even more to review since these will be added to their other existing groups. So we will review these with them along with the financials, and then they will subsequently go to the DUR board before they are then. So they have kind of 3 levels of review before they go in, but appreciate your all's review and time going through that.
And Amanda, with those subsequent reviews required, can you please remind me what the target implementation date would be for these changes? I know I have it on a calendar, but.
January 1st.
Okay, it's a 1/1. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Switching gears a little bit then and moving into our PA stats for the July through September 30th. So here is the fee for service third quarter data. I think it'll make more sense when I show you in the graph, but basically overall incredibly steady. You could see our, just a reminder, the bars are the volume and then the lines is kind of the approval percentages. So really, really steady here overall when we're looking at these groups. You know, you do see a little bit of an increase again in third quarter for the stimulants because we have a drop off during the summer. And then once kids go back to school, we see that increase kind of to go back up with their school time like Q1. But overall, really, really steady with the PA statistics. Now, next cycle, these may look a little bit differently just as we make updates to, actually won't be fourth quarter, it'll be first quarter. So in 2 cycles, we may see a little things change just based on some of the preference statuses. For our PA stats related to addiction, again, fairly consistent with what we've seen. These are really small numbers and for our group, and so a little bit of fluctuation moves them, but overall fairly steady, fairly consistent. Our unique members, fairly consistent. Our unique prescribers, also fairly consistent. And then our PA requests, because it's such a small volume, this graph always looks a little wacky, but nothing like out of the ordinary of what we would expect for our PA volume. And then again, just a reminder, we don't necessarily have PA in place on the use of the products, but it's more around non-preferred status. And so that's what we're seeing most of our PA volume around, is around the non-preferred products. Any questions on any of those before we go into the managed care group? All right, I was told that Brian has the pleasure of presenting to you all today. So Brian, I will turn it over to you.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
All right, great. So nothing earth-shattering in these buprenorphine data historically and just sort of trending. So I just wanted to point out, again, I do like to remind folks that the 2 right charts, the United Healthcare and the Humana, those charts utilize the scale on the right, and the other 4 utilize the scale on the left. But as you can see, if you look at the bottom here at the data, the green bars is the buprenorphine, the sublingual tablet, and that is still the workhorse in the buprenorphine space. It's pretty much the leader across the board. We continue to watch the trends, but in general, pretty steady. I do want to sort of point out that there's some movement in the bottom. You see the 2 injectable agents, Brixadi and Sublocade. So you see a little bit of a trend in there, nothing significant. And then very little movement on the pathways piece, United and Humana on the right in the injectables as well, related somewhat to their populations. So next slide. And so, as you know, the first one was for the claim counts. This one is how many members. And so again, nothing earth-shattering here. You see the sublingual has still got the most members. Utilization is steady. Where you do see a little bit of a decline, it is primarily related to just membership reductions related to redeterminations and just overall fewer members for the MCOs. Next slide. And this is the prescribers. So, again, I'll point out on this one here, the bottom 2, the Brixadi and the Sublocade. These numbers do sort of track and trend along with the claims and the members. It is fairly consistent. This is the one where you look at all the graphs for the most part, and you see just a slight uptick in prescribers overall. So claims are down, users are generally down. The numbers of prescribers who are writing for these things is just creeping just ever so slightly. And then one more, I think, Amanda. And then this is the PA requests. And again, I do like to point out, remember, as you look at these numbers, they're very, very small. And these only represent the PA requests for people who are outside of the allowed use limits. So if they don't go above the standard limits, they don't need a PA. And so very small numbers. You do see the lion's share of these PAs are in the 2 injectable agents, Brixadi and the Sublocade, uniformly across the 4 to the left. And then the pathways folks, don't really have much utilization of these agents to start with. So I think that was it, and I'll be happy to take any questions. And
Thanks, Brian. Any questions for Brian this morning?
Thanks, everybody.
All right, appreciate it. Next up, we have Amy Berger with Anthem. Amy?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Excellent. And I apologize. My audio is doing a little bit of craziness, so I apologize if it cuts out for a moment, but I'll do my best. So as mentioned, my name is Amy Berger, and I am here to share Anthem's updates. So as in the past, this slide here is going to be Anthem's prior authorization stats for the third quarter of 2025. And as in recent quarters, this slide is just the actual values, but we will focus on the trends on the next slide. And so here on this slide, what we see is very steady rates across the PA rates as well as the volume. The one point to call out is the slight adjustment from previous quarters, although stabilization, and that is around the sedative, hypnotics, and benzos. So that is the green line there. You may recall from previous quarters where we had an automation issue, and we corrected that. So we see what we hope to be some stabilization returning back to normal of that approval rate. All else remains relatively steady. Are there any questions? Right. Hearing
Thanks,
happy Thursday.
All right. Next up, we have CareSource.
Hey, good morning. It's Jen Chapin. Can you hear me?
We can, Jen.
Okay, perfect. Good morning again. Here on slide 1 for CareSource, we have our Q3 2025 PA statistics, including claims volume and PA information for the grouping cited. In July's meeting, I mentioned CareSource was completing a review of our reporting as we found some products for weight loss were pulling in under stimulants, and that piece was completed. So those products were removed. And if we kind of had a side-by-side here of the prior quarters, we would see a decrease in volume for stimulants and a subsequent increase in PA approval percent. And that was all as expected with that update. And if we could go to slide 2, we have our PA volume and approval rates graphed. Nothing really additional to note here.
Thanks, Jen. Any questions for Jen?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Next up, we have Humana.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Welcome. This is Bill Porch, and we'll just look at Humana's third quarter. Anti-psychs right around the 71% approval. SNRIs around 67%. The stimulants ADHD show 100%, but that's based on just 6 PAs submitted, and we approved all 6, so that will show a jump in the trend. In the sedative hypnotics at 63%. If you go to the trend slide, you'll see that bump up, and that's because of the 6 PAs that were approved. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. All right. Next, we will go to Marissa Mattingly with MDWise. Marissa?
Good morning, everyone. As Amanda said, I am Marissa Mattingly, a clinical pharmacist with MDWise, and I'll be presenting our PA stats for third quarter 2025. So on this slide, we have PA volume and approval rates for each mental health drug category. The blue bar and blue line, which represent overall PA volume and approval rate, are almost identical to third quarter last year. In each category, PA volume has again fluctuated by less than 100 PAs from quarter to quarter. And then something to note, the percent of approved PAs for antidepressants shown with that orange line at the top has increased to 68% from 60% third quarter last year. Looking back, there weren't any changes to criteria, so it seems like this is just a normal fluctuation in approval rates, but we'll continue to monitor, and obviously it might change with the new criteria from today. And then all other drug categories have roughly the same approval rate as third quarter last year. And then there's really no major changes from last quarter to this quarter. And then that's all for MDYs.
Thanks, Marissa. Any questions for Marissa today? All right, thank you very much. And then next up we have MHS.
Good morning. My name is Lavita Niarco. I am the new pharmacy director for MHS Indiana. So happy to be here. I will look forward to meeting and working with a lot of you all relatively soon. But I'll go ahead and start with our third quarter PA statistics. For the antipsychotics, we're showing an approval rate of 55%. For the SSRIs, our approval rate was around 55% as well. The stimulants, we showed an approval rate of 83%, and the sedative hypnotics, our approval rate was at 37%. If you can go to the next slide. So looking at our PA trends, they have remained relatively stable for the antipsychotics and the antidepressants. We do show that the ADHD medications have continually declined from quarter one, but for the most part have been remained relatively stable. And the benzos also, we show a slight downtick for the third quarter, but overall has been remained consistent as far as approval rates go. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Lavita, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we will now turn it over to Monica Blankenship with UHC. Monica.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Monica Blankenship with UHC. I'm going to have Amanda jump right into our trend slides. And similar to many of the other plans, we have not seen a lot of movement in quarter three. So relatively similar number of requests for all of the groups and same approval rate. We do see a little bit of fluctuation, but our numbers are so small that one or two small changes could slightly increase or decrease, but really nothing to call out for us. Any questions for UHC? If not, Amanda, it's all yours. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Monica. Appreciate it. All right. Before we get to public comment, we have a few other agenda items to go through. Any update on wards and fosters guideline development implementation? Dr. Kuhn or Dr. Holvershorn?
I don't think any major developments. I'm going to be, I have not been the director of it for the past few years. Amber Hunt has, but she is stepping away, so I'm going to be more involved than I have been. So.
Okay. Perfect. I don't believe there's any new updates on concurrent use of opiates and benzodiazepines. Aside from there is a retrodur that we're taking to the DUR board around concurrent therapy. And so this, actually tomorrow we'll be taking the newsletter and the Dear Doctor letter out to them for that. Any other updates from the board? Or committee rather? All right, hearing none. Our next item on the agenda is old business. Any old business from anybody? All right, I'm hearing none for that too. Any new business or any new agenda items that we need for next time? All right, that will take us to public comment then. So first up, we have Nilesh Nadkarni with Vraylar. I'm pretty sure he's on, I think I saw him on the phone.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. This is Nilesh Nadkarni. Based on these recommendations, we're going to respectfully give our time back to the committee, but thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, next up then we have Daphne Nee for Zurzube.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity as well. We're gonna also yield back our time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up we have Jasmine Inman with Uzeti.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, so my name is Jasmine. I'm a pharmacist with Teva Pharmaceuticals Value Evidence and Outcomes team, and today I'm here to provide you with a brief update on Uzeti, which is risperidone extended release injectable suspension. So I'd first like to let you know that on Friday, October 10th, the FDA approved Uzeti extended release injectable suspension for sub-Q use as monotherapy or as adjunctive therapy to lithium or valproate for the maintenance treatment of bipolar I disorder in adults. Uzeti was already FDA approved for schizophrenia in adults, and for complete safety information, please refer to its prescribing information. I'd also just like to emphasize here that Uzeti uses innovative copolymer technology and has a combination of product attributes that differentiates it from other LAIs. These attributes may be valuable to thousands of residents in your state currently living with schizophrenia and bipolar I disorder. So I'd just like to make some call outs here that therapeutic plasma concentrations of Uzeti are achieved within 6 to 24 hours following the first subcutaneous injection, meaning no oral supplementation or no loading doses required at treatment initiation. And this can be helpful since many LAIs are started in the hospital where a loading dose can delay discharge or transition of care. Uzeti is supplied as a single-dose prefilled syringe that can be administered sub-Q without reconstitution in the upper arm or abdomen. Uzeti requires refrigeration but remains stable at room temperature for up to 90 days if unopened. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll yield back the remaining 30 seconds.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? All right. Next up, I see Dr. I believe it's Katie or Katie. Didn't see them on. Oh, go ahead. I don't see them on the line and nobody's walking up in the room, so.
So Dr. Katie is, excuse me, Dr. Katie's trying to get connected.
Okay, I will, we'll go to the next individual and then we'll come back.
Thank you so much.
All right, next up I have Annalise Mashad, I think is how it's pronounced, for Caplyta. Yeah, no, she's on. Annalise, if you're there, you're muted and we can't hear you. I'm going to throw something in the chat really quick just to. All right. Do we get Dr. Katie yet? I don't see Dr. Katie yet either.
I'm sorry to hear Dr. Katie got tied up with patients.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So since it doesn't sound like we're able to hear from Dr. Katie or Dr. Mashad, we would then, I think that was our end of our public comment. Yes. So that takes us to the end and adjournment, Dr. Kuhn.
All right, thank you everyone for joining today, and a special thanks to all the committee members who participated in this new updated version of MHQAC. So thank you, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, have a great day.
Thanks.
I'm sorry.